Welcome to the BVI. It's really great to have you and to see you and to finally meet you after all the phone and the email business back and forth. I really admire you. Actually, you started off this thing on the right foot by going sailing for 2 days. How was it?
It was wonderful. I have really enjoyed the BVI. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
No,
you really have a truly beautiful country. Something very, very special.
Yeah. Well, I hope you got back to some of your haunting grounds and in terms of where.
We did. As Russell knows, we were engaged on White Bay in Joost Van Dyke 16 years ago. So this is the first time we've been back. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, I hope we've not moved it too far from where it was 15 years ago.
Well, there's been some development.
There's been some, yeah. No, this wasn't there, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like everything else, you've got to keep up and keeping it in context, actually. So we want to again thank you for your speech this morning. You've gotten good reviews, actually. People said it was very good, very engaging, and real. And more important than that, I think brought to the table a good sense of where things are as it relates to where Mr. Trump is going to be going. And your insights into that were quite useful. And we certainly appreciate that.
Well, as I said in my remarks, he hasn't even been inaugurated.
Yeah,
he's someone who has no experience in government, so I think his precise views of where he wants to go aren't very well formed. It's going to take a little bit of time for the United States to sort out taking campaign promises and moving them into policy. Takes a little bit of time. So
it will.
We should all be patient with him.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to start. Actually, we need some patience with Mr. Trump. But I think something he said this morning too makes good sense, which is he's put together a very interesting cabinet. Particularly National Security Front, some real strong people who bring to the table some of that credibility that he might not have brought himself, and hopefully that begins to help. Similarly, on the economic side, I'm thinking, obviously speaking to things that would affect us here in the BVI. The economic side is certainly an area that is of great importance to us, and certainly he moves forward his tax cuts and those kind of things and infrastructure spend. I think some of those benefits will accrue to the people, the kind of people who come here, whether it's business owners or people at a lower tier in terms of employment and disposable income.
I think there's some opportunities for him to have a few easy early economic wins that would get the administration off on a good start. For example, there's a large appetite in the United States to reduce the corporate tax rate, which is 35%. It's just too high. And what happens is, as you know, as you're here in a lower tax jurisdiction, capital and investment finds its way offshore to lower tax jurisdictions. And what he's trying to do, I think rightfully, is pull some of that back into the United States by decreasing some regulation. Hopefully they can do it carefully without gutting our important regulations. He says he wants to save $200 billion a year in terms of how businesses are regulated. Can he do that? Maybe. He says he's going to have every department go through all of the regulations that are issued and take out the least critical ones for health and labor and safety. Obviously, you don't want to gut them, but he could do some good there. It's something he doesn't need Congress for. Lowering and changing the taxes, obviously he very much needs Congress. I think there's a strong appetite on the Republican side to do things on tax reform. He probably won't get all the way down to a 15% corporate tax rate, which is where he wants to go. But hopefully there'll be some good negotiations without completely sinking the United States budget.
That's going to be the challenge. Because some of the things he wants to spend on infrastructure, you mentioned, he's also talking about rebuilding the fence and putting lots of money there. It's and the huge tax cut too is going to be a bit of a challenge, but that's what elections are about. Their consequences and people make decisions. And I think you're right. If he moves on some of those things, hopefully he does so early, so that he can begin to see the benefits 2-3 years out.
Well, and this is one of the benefits and also the difficulties of a democracy, especially like ours, where we have elections every 4 years. some of the things that he needs to do to crank up the economy will help the wealthy before they help folks who really voted for him.
Yeah.
So you need to see if he can be successful and actually help all of those people who are rightfully upset about the inequality in our country and about their lot, and see if you can help them before the next election cycle.
That is going to be his biggest challenge, you know, in 2018 or whatever it is. It's going to be a midterm.
Right. Right.
You know, and
you already have people lining up for 2020, so it never stops.
It never stops.
As I said, be happy that you're down here where it's safe, not in Washington, D.C.
No, we watch it from a distance, but it certainly has a huge impact on our lives. The other comments that you made today were quite useful, were those in the area of technology, given where you're based in Silicon Valley, and how can we as a little territory begin to think through and broaden our economy, because we keep talking about it, but it's doable, but we got to really begin to focus on the areas that we think there's some promise, and hopefully of your suggestions and others from the panelists, that we can begin to, the Premier sat there certainly, and hopefully we can begin to move them along.
It's true.
Because I think we can do a lot more than we currently are doing. And the whole challenge that we've had with financial services has certainly brought that to the table, that there needs to be a concerted push to buttress things and make sure we can keep going along. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's always hard to, when you've only been somewhere for a few days.
Yeah,
I don't presume to lecture you on where you should be going, but I do feel like the BVI has such strong assets.
Yeah.
You have one of the most naturally beautiful places on earth. And it looks like you're already doing a lot in the realm of environmental stewardship, but that asset is only going to become more valuable as the rest of the world becomes very homogeneous and uninteresting. And you're naturally incredibly interesting, so as long as you can preserve it. And then the other point I made was about human capital. You already have a great education system. There's no reason why it wouldn't be improved further, because now it's so easy with technology to use the best courses that are being taught anywhere around the world, teach them here, bring technology heavily in, and it sounds like you're doing some of that already. I was really happy to say just outside when we were chatting to talk to some of your young entrepreneurs. It sounds like you really have a great group of people.
Yeah, and imagine 10, 15 years from now that they will be at the point where they would have made some success and other people would have learned from it, and you then begin to develop a whole culture. And to me, that's what's really important. And you get those kids that we talk about coding in school, and I like your suggestion. And when you wait and say, look, my kids are doing that, because that's the world they're going to live in. And if you get them thinking that way now, they will just naturally grow with it. And that's how you get that whole, deepening of that thinking. In the community.
And by the way, even if they're not going to go into IT, it's just a language that's so important that you need to understand its basics. And I felt that was a big gap in my education, and so I'm now learning about coding.
No, it's quite important, and I really hope that the Premier, he did tell me in my one-on-ones subsequently that yes, I made a note he's going to go back to the Chinese ambassador and say, look, in addition to Mandarin, we want some help with coding and getting it in the schools, and chances I do readily take up on it, because it makes good sense, and he gives the ambassador too, as it does the Premier, a stake in the ground on something that's really different, and should it take root and transition at times, it's going to really make the community well. So good. Well, I really want to thank you, and we certainly, let's stay in touch. You're doing a lot of interesting things, and come from California, my favorite state of all, and hope to get out there. And if you do get out, I'll certainly let you know. We normally used to go back to San Francisco every year actually, and stopped after a while. So the kids are now saying, "Oh, we hadn't gone for a while." So I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but certainly it's always good to get back out there. And lots of good things happen in the state too. It's really growing again, which is, from where it used to be, it's
true.
Jerry Brown really must be commended for lifting.
Well, San Francisco is not as beautiful as the BVI, but it's certainly a beautiful spot.
It is.
And I think actually, in a strange way, that helps the creativity.
Yeah.
Because people always see something and the natural beauty you see.
No,
Something that's a little
yeah.
bit bigger than your own rat race.
Yeah.
So please come.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you
Yeah.
in California.
Good. Well, enjoy the rest of the day, and I think you head out tomorrow. So I'm sure you're gonna spend some time, as you should, on the beach.
I hope so. I hope so. And unfortunately in conference calls, but hopefully a little time on the beach.
Don't tell them.
Such a pleasure. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you, Russell.
Thanks.